So one of the themes that comes up in the book, movie, and I assume series as well is the themes of politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do y'all have anything to say about that?
Well, yeah. So of course, politics comes up because everything is political. Class politics is really interesting to highlight. I think throughout, obviously, Chris McNeil is a very wealthy actress who has a lot of resources. She's very famous,
Influential.
Influential, and when Reagan really starts, when she starts getting bad. Chris is able to take her to the best doctors that she can, and exhaust, all of those options before bringing in a priest. When Reagan requires constant supervision, she's instantly able to take off work, take a long period off work, where she's able to be with her daughter and help her, and obviously that requires a very particular class of society to be able to do.
Doesn't at one point her stockbroker or somebody like that call her and I remember there were 2 paragraphs of her and him just bemoaning the fact that she couldn't get a Mustang or something.
She was trying to buy a Ferrari, and he was like, "No, you cannot buy a Ferrari." And she's like, "I made $800,000 last year. Do you mean I can't buy a car?" And he's like, "Get a cheaper car." But yeah, and one must wonder what it would be like if a poorer family was going through the same situation. What if someone couldn't afford the medical bills to take Reagan or their child to the best.
And doctors. Would they be more likely to have to resort to getting aid from the church if they couldn't afford aid from medical or psychiatric professionals?
They probably would. Like in the series, when we're introduced to one of the main exorcists in the TV series, he's down in Mexico City, I think, or no, it was Rio de Janeiro, in one of the tight-packed, poor suburbs there, exorcising trying to exorcise a little boy of a demon.
Yeah, it is religious figures' duty in many cases to seek out and help the poor specifically, but often, that helps the church's reputation.
Yeah.
And the second exorcist that we meet before he becomes an exorcist is the priest for a poor diocese.
Interesting.
And these higher-ups in the church and the rich donors keep trying to get him to join with them in their little clique of whatever. And it turns out that all of those rich members of society, like the lady who's the secretary to the guy who's helping the Pope visit or whatever, and the chief of police and all those higher-ups are going into poor neighborhoods, cutting up people, specifically in the black neighborhoods, cutting up people and using the ashes from the body parts they've stolen from them to summon up demons to get themselves possessed by, so that they can launch some kind of world domination scheme or something.
And the other thing that was making me think about astronomy and aliens in the film is, I can't remember if it's Dyer or Karras talks about, I'll be the first missionary on Mars, or somebody says, talks about that.
It's Dyer.
Is it? And I thought that's interesting. There's this still ever expansionist idea. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It doesn't matter, as long as it's alien, as long as it's other, our duty is to go there and to change it somehow.
Right, yeah. And the one political aspect of the movie and the book that I don't understand. In fact, I think there's actually a difference in the movie and the book, which we'll get to later in the differences. Chris at the beginning is part of a movie.
Yes.
Where
thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, she's part of a protest, and in the movie she's playing a protester, and I, for the life of me, cannot get. I don't understand what the protest actually about?
So I think the protest was something about getting military off campus. I don't know if that had to do, like, they were adjunct for, foreign wars or something like that. I'm not sure. But then, so basically it's a protest. And it makes me think about this idea of biblical protest or rebellion. But it's also a staged protest, right? It's not an actual authentic protest. It's one that's being created for a film. It makes me wonder about, Pazuzu's motivations in terms of, like, turning people's tropes against them or staging rebellions, but is it really rebellion? Is it a rebellion, but it's meant to turn you against Christianity, or is it somehow meant to turn you to Christianity? I don't have all the answers on that, but those are kind of some thoughts I had about it and wanted to see if you guys had any other ideas.
Yeah, and then Chris makes a very clear point that, like, whatever the protest is about, like you said, I remember something about, like, the military getting off campus. She does not agree with the protesters.
Right.
Like, she, like, brings the script to...
Like, she disagrees with their methods, I think.
Yeah. She brings the script to Burt Dennings, the director, and she's like, I don't understand their position. And, like, the methods, they wanted to tear a building down. I would assume it, like, might be... And I don't know if that's, like, supposed to be metaphorical, like, tear the building down.
No, they literally wanted to tear it down.
Literally wanted to tear the building. Okay. So, yeah.
Though it could have to do with what they're debating in terms of, like, do we compromise this institution in order to protest, or do we step back somehow and keep the institution intact? And sometimes you can when you protest, and sometimes you can't, to have a reasonable solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, like, I feel like it definitely, it shows that Chris is, like, somewhat opinionated in her politics, where, like, she actually, like, I feel like a lot of actors probably wouldn't pay too much attention to their characters' political beliefs. It's, it's like, it's a job. And so, like, it does show that she is at least somewhat politically minded, where she actually does think about the motivations of the political side that her character is taking. I would wonder, like, to confuse it even more and step back, I would be interested to see if the actress playing Chris McNeil would agree with the protest in the fake movie, because then you would have a situation where her character in the fake movie is doing something that her character disagrees with, but that the actress agrees with.
I mean, I'm an eclecticist, so you can go as meta as you want with me. That's totally fine. Yeah.
I think anytime you have a movie within a movie, you're bound to get meta.
Sure, yes, yeah, and you should, yeah. I had another question that's sort of a political and historical point. I wanted to see if you guys had any ideas about it. It may even be when she comes home after the protest scene, but at some point Chris comes home and she talks about a Disney version of the Ho Chi Minh life story.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what do you guys make of that?
I honestly have absolutely no clue what she means, because Ho Chi Minh was a revolutionary in Vietnam that led the Vietnam Revolution and, like, instilled a socialist government in Vietnam.
I think she was saying that, like, whatever film Dennings was trying to make was, like, Disney-fying Ho Chi Minh.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh, okay. So, okay, yeah, I can see that, like,
that makes
watering
sense,
down the actual message of the protest.
Yeah,
I can see
the only thing I had been able to think of was, that's a good idea too. Only thing I've been able to think of is, I think there was a certain point where, because this idea of otherness and other cultures versus our culture, and I think at one point Ho Chi Minh was actually on the verge of was trying to ally with America, and then would it have been Truman came into office and didn't want anything to do with that, wanted to solidify allegiances in Europe and make Europe maybe more powerful and in that region and stuff. And so I just wondered if it wasn't this idea of rebellion or otherness coming up in that, but felt like I was kind of grasping at straws, so I'm kind of glad I got points of view from you guys as well.
Yeah, I definitely like Alex's point.
I do too, yeah. And it merges the Ho Chi Minh idea, her saying that, with the protest in the movie, and I believe they're close to each other in the film, even if not right after, so...